morning, Bucknutters. It is Thursday, November 9th, 2017. I'm Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and change. If it's Thursday, it can mean only one thing. Steve Wiltfong, Director of Recruiting for 24/7 Sports, graces us with his presence. Steve, it's sunny and crisp, finally, in the Gem City. How about Indy?
Good morning, Daniel. Sunny and frosty here as well.
Kind of like your attitude in life, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, man, I go either way. I bounce back and forth.
Speaking of which, and a possible change of heart, Cade Mays, is he the best offensive lineman in the class of 2018? You could probably make the argument. He is a Tennessee legacy. He has decommitted from the Vols. You would too. He is visiting Ohio State this weekend. How high should our hopes be?
Well, Ohio State's in the mix, and he's intrigued by the Buckeyes. He took an unofficial to Georgia, expected to return for an official. I still think Knoxville native, dad played at Tennessee. If Tennessee can get their things in order, they probably have a good shot at getting him back. Now, that's intel based on a couple weeks ago, so I don't know if that dynamic has changed. Some crystal balls have come in for Georgia, but I do know that over the last month, Cade publicly announced what we already knew, that he was decommitted earlier this week, and Ohio State has been one of the programs that's firmly in it, and the Buckeyes are going to take their swing as they want at least one more tackle in this class. I think they'd take two if they could get the two they wanted, and he's certainly high on the list.
He is a dyed-in-the-wool Vol, though. You're talking about a Knoxville kid, and the word is that Tennessee can get a decent coach in there to replace Butch Jones. They will retain Cade Mays, but we have our hopes up because he's that good. Another name that has kind of bubbled up lately, a West Coast name, and I'm going to pronounce his last name as I was told, Chris Olave. Is that right?
Yeah, he's a senior eval in Ohio State. I believe was kind of the first major program to go on him based off senior film. He's got excellent track numbers. So he was an under-recruited athlete that's having a terrific senior year. At one point, was scoring every 3 touches, and a guy that can be a game breaker on the perimeter for you in your offense. And since Ohio State offered USC, Michigan, or some of the other programs to throw their hat in the ring for one of Cali's rising seniors, and a guy that has made himself into a national recruit with what he's done on the field in his last prep season. And I talked to him after he got the Ohio State offer, and he was very fired up about it and got the official visit scheduled quickly. So Ohio State's going to have a chance here.
I'm always a tad suspect when a guy releases his top 5, and we've not spoken about him on the BM5. So let's fix that up. Tyler Friday, educate us.
Yeah, so he's a guy that hasn't really dove into his recruitment, and now with signing days approaching, he puts out a top 5, and for everyone I've talked to, it sounds like this is going to be your traditional Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State recruiting battle, and I think all 3 of those programs are in the mix and have a shot to sign him. So Ohio State, this is a young man that could end up in the Buckeyes class, and he's a guy that is a tough, hard-nosed kid. That'll also could be a guy that could play on the offensive line on the next level.
People love to make hay out of what's going on the crystal ball. We've seen a little bit of a change recently in Tyreek Smith. There's been some love back to Ohio State. At the same time, there's been a lot of love for Anthony Cook to Texas, including Jeff Howe of the Texas site recently hopping on board. What is your vibe on those 2 crystal ball trends, as it were?
Well, I still haven't heard anything to make me think that Tyreek Smith won't ultimately end up at Penn State. I do think that his visit to Ohio State helped the Buckeyes, so we'll see how this continues, how that recruitment continues. He still has an official visit in play for Penn State. He's going to go there in December where there's no game. And he already took an unofficial and saw them wax Michigan earlier this year during a whiteout. So I just still think Penn State's in control of that recruitment, but maybe I'm wrong. Then Anthony Cook, I haven't heard anything to make me think that it's not going to be Texas, and if it's not Texas, I think LSU is probably the team that's in the mix after Texas, with Ohio State hanging around at number 3.
How do you explain that?
Well, there's a lot of I think that, with Ohio State and Anthony Cook, there was some buzz that the young guys weren't playing as early as they should be playing here in Columbus, and he doesn't want to come here or come to Ohio State and be another young guy that's not playing as early as some of the others.
Interesting. It feels like a Jeffrey Okudah vibe there, but we'll move on.
But I'm told Okudah loves it, and he's going to be a guy that's going to be a 3-year starter if he needs to be a 3-year starter. I mean, he may only need to be a 2-year starter before he leaves early for the NFL draft. So it's recruiting. I try not to figure it out. I just listen to the information and keep it moving, because people's perceptions are always different than your own perception of a similar situation.
Good point. We will wait for that whole thing to percolate over. Any update on quarterback? We've talked Emory Jones. We've talked Jarren Williams. It seems like we are in a little bit of a holding pattern with visits and such. Is there an update that you feel anything has moved?
Well, just that, last week we talked about Jarren Williams looking to visit for Illinois. That is now locked in as an official visit, and Jarren Williams will be on campus next weekend. I don't think he's the only guy Ohio State's looking at, and I think they want to sign a quarterback. But other than that, that's all I got.
That's a lot, though. It does mean that, Emory Jones is a crapshoot at this point, and Jarren Williams and a mystery quarterback or a few on the radar could be very, very interesting. We have reached the Nostradamus part of the show. Last week we both predicted Ohio State would win over Iowa. We were both wrong. Now a game, Michigan State comes to Columbus with a positive track record of doing so. What's your vibe on the Fighting Brian Lewerkes?
Well, I think that they're a year away, so the season that they're having has surprised me only because they were coming off 3-9, and you forget that this is a program that won 11 games 5 of the 6 seasons before going 3-9, and that 3-9 team last year still gave Ohio State and Michigan hell, and I just thought they were so young and inexperienced at the point of attack that I just didn't think they would bounce back like this, and there's still 3 games to go. But they've obviously, they're what they've always been under D'Antonio, and that's pretty damn good. But at the same time, they beat Penn State, they beat Michigan at their own game earlier this year. So with all that being said, I recognize all that, but I still think Ohio State's a more talented football team right now. And so I would think that the Buckeyes would win the football game and could win it by at least 2 touchdowns. But the way Michigan State's playing this year, they're going to come in hungry, and they've won multiple times in Columbus under Mark D'Antonio. So it's got a chance to be a tough ball game for Ohio State, but this is a game I'm real excited to watch. There's a lot on the line still. Obviously, you're not a national title contender anymore unless just havoc hits college football, but you have a chance here to still get to the Big Ten championship game and then get to a New Year's Six game and play in some big games, and this is a big game this weekend, and it can show. You always talk about Ohio State, the culture of the program, and this is a type of game after losing 2 and you're out of the national title hunt, that this game will be proof of what kind of culture there is in the Ohio State program. And I don't mean that means they have to come out and win the game, but they just have to come out. If they come out and play hard and compete at a high level, I think that's what I'm looking to see from Ohio State. How do they respond now that basically a lot of their main goal is off the table? How do they respond to that and come out and compete? And you said it off air. A lot of these guys are still competing for the NFL draft, and they got to put good tape out there. And But I just want to see how Ohio State competes because I know Michigan State's going to come in there hungry. They want to win the Big Ten East, and they want to play in the Big Ten championship game, and we'll see how important that is for Ohio State this weekend.
It's definitely a character game. I've said this on the air multiple times in multiple places. I'm very impressed with Brian Lewerke. I think he's actually a closet NBA. Who knows how good he is at basketball. He's a closet NFL prospect. If you would have told Michigan State fans beginning of the year they had a chance to beat Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State in the same year, you probably could have knocked them over with a feather. So should be very interesting. And like you said, it's a character game for Ohio State. Let's see what they got. I just want to see some effort and lack of mistakes. If we can see that, I think everything will take care of itself. We appreciate the man stopping by. Everyone have a great Thursday. Have a good one, Bucknutters.
See you guys.